I'm surprised that you're married. You don't seem like, I watched some of your video last night, and you don't seem like the married family type. You seem like a surfer person. Or you don't seem like you're the kind of guy that would settle down with a family.
Well, I mean, I think that's the whole the California way is put us in a box and we're supposed to follow these norms. And
Right.
we're pretty we do our life our own ways. We've been through it all, and I got children and the whole thing. But it doesn't take from my reality of being a surfer and a skater and doing all. I mean, my wife's fully supportive of what I do.
Right
And
on. You are a YouTuber who focuses on life and addiction. How do you see life?
how do I see life? I see life as abundant and graceful and beautiful, but that doesn't negate from the fact that life's full of like pain and misery and destruction. But it's my choice what life I want to live in. Like, I've lived on the other side of it.
Right.
I can't tell you what life is. I can tell you what life isn't.
What is it? What isn't it?
Self-involvement, about me trying to fix everything. Like, I think from when my life changed was realizing that the first person I had to heal was myself.
Yeah.
I had to stop looking outward and blaming and blaming and blaming,
Yeah.
and go, okay, I'm at the center. I'm responsible for everything in this reality, and then where do I go from there? And then I go to God, and once I cleaned that up, I was like, now I have to do the work out in life.
So what brought you to that point in life where you realize you got to take responsibility? You need to clean up you. What brought you there?
Alcohol and drugs and isolation. I was sitting up at the top of one of these mountains in the Santa Monica Mountains. I'm a skateboarder, so I had a property owner giving me an empty pool to kind of caretake and keep the skaters out. And I used to have the 360-degree view of all of it. And I pretty much would wake up every morning and wish for mushroom clouds. I was just over all of it. I just didn't like people. I was angry. I was frustrated. And then I asked God for help, and two sober dudes showed up in my life the next day in front of a liquor store, and the rest is kind of all on YouTube.
Really?
Yeah.
What caused you to become an addict?
I as a person who's pretty aware about like life, I think I struggled with what this life is. It can be very painful when you see below the fabric of it. I was as a kid who grew up very in touch with the land and the environment and nature, and to watch it sort of bulldozed away and all of that. Like, I went on that journey of trying to save old growth trees and getting involved and trying to help people, and again, out there trying to fix this madness. And when you really understand how powerless you are in that direction, like, I had nowhere to go except down, and then I just went down until like I hit the bottom.
How long were you into drugs and alcohol? How long did that last?
I mean, I don't know. It's just like, you start. I guess it's a California thing. It's a youthful thing. You start, smoke a little weed here, and you drink kegger. We just do keggers back in the day, and then it just leads to, then you're in college and you're doing what you do, and then life sort of, as a renegade, like as a non-conforming, thought I was a free person. Like, that was just the culture I was in.
Oh, I
So
see.
it wasn't like in or out. It was
Right.
just, that's where the train led, and it led to nowhere.
Amazing, man.
Ultimately,
You are known as the illusion. What does that mean, and why are you known as that? Illusion.
that came out real early, because when you see me on a screen, you're never actually seeing. You're seeing me. You,
Right.
Jesse. We're right here. I am Hamish.
Right.
But when you see me on the other side of the screen, I've bounced through satellites and fiber optics and cable. So you're never actually seeing me if you're on the other side of the screen. You're just seeing an illusion of me. And
Oh, I see.
it was an intuitive take on it when I made my first couple videos.
Were you surprised that your video would take off in the way that they did?
As a person who hit the button and had no idea what YouTube was, yeah, absolutely. And it's been a blessing all along. And to be here 12 years later is still kind of amazing, you know?
So do you live in reality or an illusion now?
I mean, that's a metaphysical question. I mean, when you look at the electromagnetic spectrum, yeah, all this is subject to interpretation. So I live in a reality of understanding the boundaries of this lower dimension, if you will.
Yeah. So were you always a Christian, or you became one once you hit rock bottom and so on, and you asked God to help you? At that point, did you become a Christian, or were you always a Christian?
I would intuitively, God knew what I was before I did. Yeah, I went through the exploration. I was always searching for God. I grew up in a house that wasn't available to me, so I went on the journey, so to speak, and read and explored. And I always, at a certain point, I understood that was where I was at. It wasn't until I got sober that I was actually able to make like a conscious contact with God and really turn my life over to Jesus Christ. And
so you say you were not raised in that environment, like your father and mother were not Christians?
no, I mean, they're your classic people that left the East Coast in the 60s to get away from all that. So I grew up in the Santa Cruz Mountains, very much, they weren't against it, but they weren't for it. It was very much up to me to figure out, which I think was one of the components that made it sort of difficult through life, because I didn't have a spiritual center.
Right.
I had to go on this exploration, and one of the paths in that time of the 80s, 90s, and coming out of the Santa Cruz Mountains was like drugs and alcohol, and I did find it in the spirits of alcohol, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it shifted my perception, but it definitely was a hollow existence.
I was watching one of your videos last night, and you did something that was very interesting. You cut your hair on camera.
Yeah.
And it's like you cut into a bowl.
I'm the bowl cut maintenance guy. Yeah,
You're the bowl cut maintenance guy. So what made you decide one day, let me go on camera and cut my hair into a bowl cut?
It was sort of
The funniest, before you answer, the funny thing, it was funny. I caught myself watching the whole thing, and I wondered, why am I interested in some guy cutting his hair? But it was interesting the way you did it. What made you do it?
So early YouTube, I'm starting to think I get some meetings and some stuff, and it was a different time back then. And I had met with this producer, and he had wanted me to do this show, and he came, and I had an idea for the show I wanted to do, and he's like, nah, I want you to be like the surfer guy. And I was like, yeah, but no. And so the haircut was me like, I'm getting rid of this to see what it is, without the facade of the surfer. So that's me actually just dismantling what was my facade at the time.
Oh, I see. Were you high when you were cutting your hair?
No, I'm stone cold. That was like I'm stone cold sober. Every video on YouTube, I'm as sober as can be. Yeah.
Because what was interesting, the way you were narrating your haircut, you're like, oh, this is not going to happen here, and this is not right. I have this mirror so I can look in the back, and it was so interesting. Are you surprised that anyone cared about that? You cutting your hair?
Nobody did, and it was sort of a sleeper, actually. Like, that actually didn't go viral for like 2 years after I did it. Like,
really?
all my stuff went viral in the skateboarding world first.
Oh, I see.
My magazine reviews and all of that was so, and then the bowl cut thing sort of swung back around. So I never saw it coming.
Amazing. It was very funny. It was very interesting.
That was life before I knew what I was doing. So that's the genius of it. Like, there was zero thought given. It was just a dude just a lonely sober guy sitting in his little apartment keeping himself busy.
Do you believe that human beings are in a fallen state?
Dogma-wise, or I think the proof's everywhere. I think that this is an utter failure of humanity, what's going on this planet.
Yeah.
Like, it's a disaster. And yeah, I think we've fallen off the mark completely. Do I think that we're doomed? Absolutely not.
And how would you describe the fallen state for those who can't recognize it?
I mean, it's a pretty personal thing. If you don't think that, if you're sitting in your content life, how would you know? I think that where we're at right now is you have to take chances in life. Like, I risked it all to be like a lunatic, alcoholic, book writing artist in my 20s. I risked it all to be a crazy environmentalist up in Portland, Oregon. And it led me somewhere. It led me to how I don't want to leave my life. But I risked it all to be an addict and alcoholic. Like, I threw the dice on it. I think most people are willing to just be status quo and never find out what they're about because they're afraid of the darkness and they're afraid of the light. Because you don't get to have the light without the darkness.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And they want to stay in the nice, comfy status quo of the state, and like.
I don't think most people are aware of the light. I don't know if they're afraid of it. I just don't think that they're aware of it because you don't hear a lot of talk about it in churches, or even if a preacher or someone should mention it, it's not in depth where the person can even get an idea that there is a light that will bring them out of the darkness.
Yeah, I agree. You know, I think that's the problem with. I mean, that's why they don't encourage people to read anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, you read. I'm a reader. Like, you read enough. I mean, you read a day in the life of Ilya Ilyich, right? When he's in the gulag up there, like, that'll really like waken you up to like what it is, this life and the potential pitfalls here, and like I think right now is like this is the end of the unique experiment in like human history that we know of. Like, you know, the last one was Pax Romana, right? 200 years of peace. Like, these people have squandered their status quo-ness on nothingness, you know, and the reckoning's coming. I just.
What do you mean by that?
We've sat by as a nation and slurped up the gravy while the rest of the world we've done terrible things around the planet. And I'm not anti-military, but we've done the bidding of the most evil corporations on the planet for the name of like cheap made goods from China, and we're wondering why we're falling apart. Yeah. Like, we've gutted the heart of what made us get here. And now the bill is coming due, and that's too bad for the people that can't see it.